Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Neighbor goes full-on Karen after I kept her Amazon package that was delivered to my address. After that, am I the jerk for wanting to talk to my daughter's new teacher about being nicer to the kids? And after that, I offered to help my wife with the dishes and she totally flipped out on me. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets her Amazon package stolen. I don't order off Amazon, Reddit boy. Down with the corporations. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Neighbor goes full-on Karen after I kept her Amazon package that was delivered to my address. 2 weeks ago, Amazon dropped off a package on my doorstep. I left it there and I went to the store. When I came back, it was still there. I took it inside, called Amazon customer service. After being asked for and giving the associate the name, tracking number, and contents of said package, I was told that their policy was to either keep it or trash it. I kept a part of it, threw the rest away. Last night, the owner of the package knocked on my door loudly. I answered it, and she immediately accused me of stealing her stuff. I apologized and asked what was she talking about. I had completely forgotten about it at this point. She mentions that she had a camera in her car and it recorded Amazon dropping off the item. Plus, they take photos of the home number, and she was contemplating getting the police involved. I remembered the items and asked about the specific one. She confirmed it was hers, then went into a story about Amazon not replacing the items or refunding her money, and I apologized again and explained the situation, my actions, and what I was told by Amazon. And since I still had one part of her package, I gave it to her. She left after repeating her concerns and assumptions about our thievery. Today, literally 30 minutes ago, I learned that she previously took her complaints to the only neighbor that I know and am friendly with in the complex, bothering him at his job for over 10 minutes, calling my family thieves and threatening police action. So, am I the jerk for keeping and trashing someone else's property? Edit. The individual unit or apartment number was not on the package, just her name and the townhouse, condo, and complex address itself. There's no manager office, no lobby, no communal area, no communal mailbox. It's a townhouse/condo type situation. I also didn't know her before last night. I don't exactly speak to the neighbors except for mainly one. Not the jerk. There was no communal area or leasing office to put it in per OP. 2. You called Amazon. 3. She waited 2 weeks. Clearly it wasn't that important to her. Not the jerk. It's amazing how few people in this sub understand how Amazon works. You aren't responsible to do their job. You have no duty to track down the actual recipient and get them the package. It's unlikely that the person who came to your door hadn't already received a refund or a new item and was just there to get the item you were told to keep. If she knew the item was at your place, which she clearly knew, why did she wait so long to knock on your door? As a former Amazon customer service rep, I'm going to say not the jerk. This is exactly Amazon's policy. If a package is delivered to the wrong address, the person is told that they should trash it or keep it. And when the person who should have received it calls, they'll be eligible for refund or replacement, depending on the product. The neighbor is full of it. Amazon took care of her. That's 100% company policy. They're not going to refuse to make it right when it's clear it was delivered to the wrong address. Also, the Amazon rep could see who it should have gone to, but is not allowed to tell OP to protect the original customer's privacy. The neighbor came after OP to try to get double what she ordered, the original and the replacement. Also, if she has it on camera, why did she wait 2 weeks to ask about it? OP did the right thing by calling Amazon about the mistaken delivery. It is unreasonable to expect someone in OP's situation to take responsibility for Amazon's error. The neighbor received a refund or replacement. That's their policy. Neighbor is the jerk here. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or their neighbor? Please let us know. I can't even tell you how many times Amazon has delivered the wrong stuff to our house. We always take it to the house that it actually belongs to, but that's because we can see their address on it. Am I the jerk for wanting to talk to my daughter's new teacher about being nicer to the kids? My daughter's preschool hired a new teacher or teacher's aide who's in their early 20s, female, earlier this year. My daughter adores this teacher, and my wife, who is also a teacher, speaks highly of her. We just had a baby, so I've been taking care of drop-off and pickup lately, and I've been able to form my own opinion of this teacher. In my opinion, she messes with the kids too much. These are all examples that I've seen. For Christmas, we got every teacher a box of chocolates from a small shop near the school. The shop wrapped the boxes, and they have the name of the shop on the wrapping paper. Everyone knows what it is by looking at it. My daughter ran in yelling, "We got you chocolate!" And the teacher said, "Abby, it was supposed to be a surprise." She still hugged my daughter and thanked her, but I felt that remark was unnecessary. Another time, I picked my daughter up towards the end of snack time. My daughter came up to the teacher and asked for more snacks. Teacher said, "Abby, you already ate all of our snacks. If I give you more, we won't have anything to eat tomorrow. You're about to go home and have dinner anyways." In my opinion, the first two sentences were very unnecessary. The last one just happened on Friday. Pickup ends at 4:30, and I'm guessing the teacher leaves at 4:45. I called the school and said that I was going to be late for pickup, and I got there at around 4:45. When I got there, my daughter was with a boy whose parents had been there for 20 minutes and he was refusing to leave. My daughter was getting her stuff, and I saw the teacher give the boy a spray bottle, a rag, and gloves and say, "Jack, if you want to stay, you're going to have to clean the tables, then vacuum. I have to go home, and your mom can't wait forever." She went to the closet, got her stuff, and started walking to the door. His mom also started to walk away. The boy dropped the cleaning supplies, started crying, and ran for his mom when the teacher made it to the door and his mom was out of sight. In my opinion, there had to have been a better way to get him to go than scaring him like that. I get that she's joking, but these kids are 3 and 4 and don't get it. My daughter has never admitted to this teacher making her upset, but I still don't like how she talks to my daughter or the other kids. My wife and I were talking about the school, and I said that I wanted to talk to the teacher about being nicer to my daughter and the other kids. My wife rolled her eyes at me and said that I'm starting to sound like a certain parent at her school that she and the other teachers can't stand, and that if I insist that everyone coddles our daughter, then she's going to have a hard time when she's older. Am I the jerk for not liking the teacher and wanting her to be nicer? You're the jerk. The teacher sounds perfectly nice, and correcting kids is part of her job. Wow. So this teacher, who's an expert on childcare, is helping guide children to be good little humans who have empathy towards others, making sure to save snacks for everyone else the next day and be helpful. What a monster. Instead of saying no to children's requests, she's telling them the answer is no and then gently redirecting them. And you think it's mean-spirited joking? Yet somehow your wife and your daughter love this teacher. You're the jerk, man, and it's clear it's your wife that does the bulk of the childcare. You wouldn't even know anything about this teacher if your wife hadn't been occupied with the birth of your new baby. Why don't you stop and think about that for a while? You're the jerk. You're making something out of nothing. You're making a big deal out of something kids can understand. Eat food today, there's none left tomorrow. You're close to dinner time. As far as the chocolate, that is overreaction. You give gifts. They're supposed to be a surprise. Relax. You're that parent every teacher hates. They have a hard enough job as it is. Yes, you're the jerk. Get some thicker skin. Your wife likes the teacher. Your kid likes the teacher. If she were mean to your daughter would feel that. You're not doing your kid or your wife any favors here. I offered to help my wife with the dishes, and she totally flipped out on me. My wife and I, who are both 26, both work 4 days a week. I work 12-hour shifts and she works 8-hour shifts. She would work more, but our daughter, who is 1, needs to be picked up from daycare. I leave for work before they wake up, and some days I don't get home until after our daughter has gone to bed. This week, our daughter's daycare provider was sick, so my wife took the week off of work to care for her. I worked an extra day to make up for her lost income, so it all worked out fine, or so I thought. She seemed stressed still, so I asked her what was wrong. She broke down, saying that she's struggling with balancing work, caring for our daughter throughout the week, and keeping our house clean and cooking, etc. I responded calmly by saying that I can't miss work or reduce hours. We simply cannot afford it. She responded by saying she knows that, but it's overwhelming for her and the house chores are piling up. I told her 90% of the problems with messiness could be solved if she picked up after herself, if she just put the used butter knives in the sink after she was done and rinsed bottles, cookware, etc. I'd be happy to do the dishes when I get home from work. I'll even put them away after. But I do not want to play scavenger hunt and look around the house for things to wash. She did not respond to me after I said that, other than a quiet okay before going to console our daughter who woke up early from her nap. She still seemed upset with me, so I vented to my coworker about what happened. He says I was being a jerk because I didn't even listen to what she wanted. I feel like I was perfectly reasonable. Am I the jerk? You're not the jerk for offering to help with the dishes. You're the jerk for telling her that 90% of the problems with messiness could be solved if she picked up after herself. Like, what were you thinking? Your title was misleading. Either you did that on purpose in a weak attempt to garner sympathy, or you are actually that dense. I suspect it's the former. Did you see where he answered about the chores he does at home? He takes out the garbage and does the dishes a couple times a week. He basically offered to continue doing what he already does, which is next to nothing. I'm sorry, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I wouldn't call dishes and trash household chores. That's less than the bare minimum to survive as a human being. You're the jerk, OP. If you don't want to go on a scavenger hunt because it's a lot of work walking things back to the sink, rinsing things out, etc., do you think it's possible that it's also a lot of work for her? Especially if she's exhausted and being pulled away from these tasks by the needs of your kid. Doing all those little tasks as they come up during the day might be less overwhelming for some people than doing them all at once, but it still adds up in terms of time and energy when you're also trying to juggle other things. Plus, it sounds like she was venting and or leading up to a suggestion about how to fix things, and you thought it was a good idea to insult her and tell her to do more work when she's already telling you she's overwhelmed. You're the jerk. You took from that whole thing the dishes? Clearly, it's about a lot more than butter knives in the wrong place. How 90% of her problems are her own fault is stupid. I bet 99% that she carries the entire mental load of the household and has baby brain. On days that you work, I imagine she's the one that's basically the sole parent, and probably on days that you don't work, she does the lion's share. Exactly. She has 3 jobs: childcare, household, and her actual job. OP says he works more hours, but that's BS. Calculate the work she does in a way where they'd have to pay for a babysitter and a cleaner to do those jobs. She contributes way more, and OP needs to get his head out of his rear. Not the jerk. Crazy idea here, I know, but what if he's right? Look, leaving dirty dishes laying around the house is flat out disgusting, no matter how many of you claim that it's normal. If his wife is incapable of at least taking her dirty dishes to the sink, let alone giving them a quick scrub the way my husband and I do, then I honestly feel sorry for this man. Validate her feelings for leaving dirty dishes laying around and being filthy? Give me a break. I'm a woman myself, but I'm so sick of you people bashing the husbands in these stories simply because they're men. Just reverse the roles, and none of you would be calling his wife the jerk if she told her husband to stop leaving dirty dishes around the house. You'd all be telling her that she isn't a maid and she's 100% right, and that her husband needs to stop being a slob. You're not his mommy, he needs to wash his own dishes, what a man-child. I saw one story where most of you actually sided with the husband instead of the wife. How on earth was this possible? Well, let's see. The husband was a Major League Baseball player who hired a maid, a personal chef, a nanny, and wanted to hire a night nurse to watch the baby at night so his wife, a stay-at-home mom, wouldn't have to deal with it. All this, and his wife still couldn't stop complaining about how hard it was being a parent, and that he needed to do more to help her with the baby. At least now we know what it takes for you people to side with the dad. Unfortunately, most men won't get to be professional athletes making millions a year and hiring maids, nannies, chefs, and night nurses so their stay-at-home mom wives can be lazy. So Reddit will never cut those guys an ounce of slack. Saddest thing is, it's only a matter of time until she leaves him and takes him to the cleaners for everything he's worth, due to his talent and dedication, something she never had to work for and instead just reaps the benefits of. So glad I found a husband who, like myself, has common sense, and our 3 kids are being raised to be decent people who have the ability to use their brains, unlike most of you. Edit. Oh, look, I'm being downvoted by everyone. Big surprise there. If I wanted upvotes, I would have left a comment about OP being a monster who doesn't deserve his wife and how she deserves so much better. I would have shared a sob story about how I know what it's like to live with a monster who refuses to validate your feelings and who asks you not to be a lazy slob. That's how you get upvotes on Reddit. You just make yourself out to be a perpetual victim, then all these other losers will relate to you and upvote your crap. I don't want upvotes on Reddit. I don't want you people to relate to me. The more you all disagree with someone, the more common sense they have. Ouch. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. If you left dirty dishes around the house, Reddit boy, To be honest, I don't think I'd be with you. That's really gross. Check with your boss about your availability? Sure. I'm the HR manager of a medium-sized company based out of the United States. We're in an industry that relies heavily on most people having an assistant to manage their schedule, handle their phones, etc. I had someone tell me on a Wednesday that their assistant was leaving. Let's call the assistant Andy. I talked to Andy, who said his last day would be the next Friday. It's less than 2 weeks' notice, which is annoying but not illegal, and I understand that things happen, so I'm not gonna put up a stink about it. Andy was a nightmare for the next week and a half. When trying to schedule interviews for replacements, he kept insisting on prioritizing certain candidates because he wanted to do it his way. He wouldn't follow our recruiting protocol and complained to his boss that we were pushing back when we most certainly weren't. But the worst part was scheduling the transition meeting/exit interview. At my company, our policy is to conduct a transition meeting and exit interview together. I do these meetings, and they're usually pretty harmless. I'll give the employee their final paycheck, as required by law, tell them about how to sign up for benefits after they leave if they want, COBRA, share info on porting over their retirement, etc. After going over all of the transition information, I'll conduct a brief exit interview, asking them about how we can improve the working experience, etc. I always tell them that this exit interview is for their benefit as a final means of giving feedback to us, but I also make it clear that they don't have to share anything they don't want to. All in all, these meetings usually take between 15 to 20 minutes. At first, I had a time on hold with Andy to do an exit interview on his last day. He then emailed me and said he wouldn't be able to do an exit interview because his priority was wrapping things up for his boss. Let's call him Ben. I let him know that I needed to be able to give him his final paycheck and additional information. He told me to just leave the paycheck on his desk. By this point, I'm fed up with him because his emails are incredibly rude, so I CC my boss, the head of HR. Let's call her Carol. I tell Andy that there's more than just the final paycheck that I need to share, and that I'd be more than happy to share more about our company policies in our meeting. I also said he's welcome to reach out to anyone on the HR team to ask. Andy ignores my email. I follow up the next morning. I run into him in the elevator and he literally refuses to acknowledge me, not even to say good morning or smile awkwardly. He ignores this email too. By the afternoon, I'm over it. I tell Carol, who calls Andy. Carol says, "Hey, I heard from the Invisibond that she's having a hard time getting a hold of you to schedule an exit interview." He responds that he's just so busy wrapping things up for his boss and he really appreciates us following up, but no, he won't be available. And if there are any issues, we can reach out to his boss. Cue the malicious compliance. Carol lets him know that this isn't optional and that it'll only be 15 minutes. But if he's so busy, we can certainly reach out to Ben to make sure there's time carved out. He stutters and isn't able to make a coherent sentence. Ben says we don't have to do that. Carol says, "It's okay. We understand the need to make sure Ben is on board, so we'll call Ben on his cell," and she hangs up. We then call Ben and she tells him, "I'm so sorry to do this, but Andy let us know he won't be available for an exit interview. Could you make sure he has time for it? We're trying to schedule something and are having a hard time." He asks how long, and she says 15 minutes. He says, "That's ridiculous. He should have 15 minutes. I'll call him and take care of it right now." Carol thanks him, and we continue to have our meeting. A few minutes later, Andy comes by and is fuming. He demands that we do the exit interview at that moment. I calmly tell him that there are important documents I need to prepare, which is why we're trying to schedule time. Carol then calmly tells him that there are policies and procedures to follow when you leave a company. The assistant says he doesn't appreciate us going to Ben and that he felt really disrespected. Carol gently reminds him that he said it was okay to check in with Ben and we're glad it's a priority now. And how does 10 a.m. sound tomorrow? Andy stormed down the hallway and we had our exit interview the next day at 10 a.m. Best part? It would have been a brief 15 minutes, but then Andy got argumentative and we went overtime. Am I the jerk for refusing to drop my ex-husband's last name? My ex-husband, who I'll call by a fake name, Tony, and I broke up 2 years ago after 26 years of marriage. We have 4 kids together. Due to the stupidity of the time and social pressure, I added my husband's last name to my name. So all my documents, like identification, driver's license, passport, all credit cards, voter registration card, have his last name at the end. We ended amicably, and even more so due to the circumstances, and we divorced. Honestly, it would suck to have to change everything. Go to government agencies, pay for everything new, go to the bank and change everything. So I didn't want to take out his last name. But I introduced myself by my maiden name. Only in the documents is it this name. Tony is currently engaged to a guy, and they're going to get married in the next year. The situation that happened was, our son and his family decided to travel and invited me. He asked for my ID to make the reservations. A few days later, me, Tony, and fiancé were at my grandson's party. Our son said jokingly in the conversation circle that he couldn't believe that until today I hadn't changed my last name. I laughed, saying that I was too lazy to rush to change everything that has this name on it. Tony started to ask if I really hadn't changed my name, if I didn't think that being engaged to someone else isn't the best time to change it, and he insisted that it was weird of me. I just replied, unless you can go in my place, spend hours and hours in lines, pay hundreds for it, I won't do it in the near future. We stopped talking and the party flowed smoothly. Later, he called me and said I was acting weird and being a jerk by refusing to change the name, which he said was uncomfortable. I asked our son, and he said he understands my side of not wanting to do this, but he understands Tony's side of being uncomfortable with his ex using his last name after the divorce. So I asked for an outside opinion. Am I the jerk? I don't intend to never change, I just don't want to go through it right now. Not the jerk. If having his ex share a last name with him bothers him that much, then maybe he should take his fiancé's name after they marry. Not the jerk. After 26 years, that's your name. This. My mom and dad were married 24 years. She didn't want to change her name back, and now they've been divorced 29 years. My dad never made a big deal out of it. She can choose what name to use. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. It's normal for someone to not change their last name after a divorce. I know women who have gotten remarried and didn't change their name even then because they wanted the same name as their kids. Not the jerk. I'm kind of puzzled by Tony being uncomfortable with his ex using his last name. You had the name for 26 years. Did Tony not consider it your name during that time? Was he just loaning it to you on sufferance? There are plenty of perfectly good reasons to keep his last name. Your kids have that last name. All your documents are in that name. Maybe you've used that name in your career. And yes, it is expensive and time-consuming to change it. Daughter dyed her hair badly and refuses to go to school. Can't believe this is happening, but here we go. Daughter, who's 14, has always been naturally blonde. However, the last few months, brown hair has been coming through her roots. She asked us if she can dye it earlier this month. We said yes, but only if it's done professionally. An appointment is booked for the 8th of February, very popular salon with a good reputation, meaning long wait times. But if it's being done right. Reason for this is both her sister, and my wife have very sensitive scalps. Last time older daughter used an at-home kit, it went badly wrong. Doctors kind of wrong. Youngest daughter was happy with this and agreed to wait, but this weekend went out with her friend and bought an at-home kit, dyeing her hair at her friend's house without any adult assistance. Well, now it's orange. We offered to buy a brown or black kit to cover it until her appointment, but she screamed she is a blonde, not brunette, and hasn't really left her room since. She's refusing to go to school until we fix it. I said I don't have a magic hair fixing spell, and the choice is go dark for 3 weeks or put up with the orange color. We phoned the salon, but they cannot move up the appointment, but will contact in case of a cancellation. So Reddit, am I the jerk for sending my daughter to school with self-inflicted orange hair? To be clear, as it's been mentioned a few times, the brown or brunette option was a temporary color, not a permanent. It would wash out in a few weeks anyway. We've tried at other salons as well, however they have similar wait times. One can fit us in earlier, the 25th of January, but honestly, their Google reviews are a very mixed bag, 2 stars out of 5, so we're not overly confident with that one. Edit. Thanks for all the advice. We won't be dyeing it again, and we'll try the purple/blue shampoo instead, hoping to tone it down. Also, wife just got off the phone with a salon who can get her in this Friday, so she'll have to suck it up for the rest of the week. It's going to cost us nearly twice as much as the normal salon, so guess who will be doing extra chores for a while. Not the jerk. And your daughter just learned an important lesson about instant gratification. It's not always gratifying. So she had everything set up for her to get it done, yet she was impatient, gave in, and dyed it on her own? Not the jerk. Your daughter messed up. If your kids can't behave, they don't belong in a movie theater. Some parents really insist that kids will be kids and can't be disciplined at all, and it's not true. They're just lazy parents, or selfish. In the off chance you do have a kid with behavioral issues beyond your control, then you have to make some personal sacrifices. It's not everyone else's problem. If you know your kid can't sit quietly through a movie, then why take them to a movie theater? I went to see a kids movie recently and fully expected some level of craziness. It wasn't like for little kids or anything, but it was an animated film. I know that kids will make some kind of noise. However, I was set by a family that was acting like they were in their own living room the entire film. Kids running all over the place, standing on chairs, invading people's spaces, talking, yelling, singing, screaming, etc. And the parents did nothing. No shushing, no reprimanding. Just ignored them and watched the movie. So happy for them that they deal with that BS enough at home to be desensitized. But I'm happily child-free and didn't pay $12 for a ticket and $16 for snacks to have a horrible experience and a migraine by the end of it. The kids were old enough to know better if they had been taught better, but I'm assuming they weren't. The theater was full of kids who were behaving themselves and weren't ruining the experience for everyone else. When there are kids in a theater acting that way, it doesn't just mess it up for the adults, it also distracts for all of the kids who are actually behaving. I don't buy this excuse that kids will just be kids and that there's nothing parents can do about it. At the very least, you can choose to keep your kids at home if they don't know how to act in public. I feel like some parents behave this way because they believe that no one is going to say anything. What was I supposed to do? Interrupt the movie and bother people around us by confronting them in the moment? Or missed parts of the movie myself by going and getting a manager and pulling a Karen? They do this crap counting on the fact that most people will say nothing, or think that everyone else around them has the same ideology that kids will be kids, and that because they're kids, no one should be bothered. Flat out entitlement. Not my fault you messed up by having them. Edit. Okay, I'm not checking the updates on this anymore. Some of y'all are taking it a bit too far, acting like you have some personal stake in the matter. I chose the least confrontational route possible and just wanted to complain online and then move on. I have no clue why any of you care whether or not I complained to the staff and got it fixed in the moment. I did not want to be in a confrontational situation at the time, and I don't have to explain myself, but feel free to read my comments on this thread for clarification. Thanks. Should have gotten theater personnel involved and gotten them kicked out. OP. Like I said in the post, I would have had to miss parts of the movie myself. But I didn't mention that the theater staff was almost entirely teenagers, and I kind of just didn't want to put them in a confrontational situation, honestly. If I saw a single adult in there, maybe I would have considered it more. Last time I had to get two little jerks kicked from a movie theater, the manager offered me 2 free vouchers to use to see the movie again. But guess what? You have the great little thing in your pocket called a phone. Call the theater, ask for the manager. Tell him what theater you're in and that some jerks are letting their kids run wild and ruin the movie for everyone else. Then sit back and watch both shows. Am I the jerk for preventing my ex from moving to his home and forcing him to live in a 1-bedroom apartment? I, 40 female, was married to Chris, 42 male, for 15 years. We have 3 kids, Alex, 15 male, Lexi, who's 12 female, and Spencer, who's 9. I filed for divorce 2 years ago because Chris is obsessed with moving to a warmer climate. During lockdown, he began working from home, and by the end of the year, his company decided to give up office space, and now he had the opportunity to live elsewhere. Years ago, we agreed that we would move when we retired. He became obsessed with this idea, and I refused to entertain it until our kids were done with school, or I could get my pension. We tried therapy, but he would not compromise, like buying a vacation home. It was full-time in the warmer location or nothing. It got bad enough that it was the only thing he ever focused on. It absolutely destroyed our marriage, and the resentment is strong. He was confident he would get custody of our kids because he makes a significant amount more than me, and his family is pretty wealthy. He was also sure that Alex would want to move with him because he loves the place my ex wants to move to and plans to attend college in that state. He knows I would never be far away from any of my kids and hoped to divide and conquer, and that he would force me to go too. My ex was pretty much laughed out of court by the judge and told he cannot uproot his kids because he wants to live in warmer weather. He wanted custody, but the court looks at the best interest of the kids, and we were ultimately awarded joint legal custody. Now he has to work it out with me since he needs my approval to take the kids, which will never happen. He's tried to pressure Alex, but to our surprise, Alex is not interested in his father's bribes. He went as far as buying a house there and met a local woman about 6 months after we filed. She's pressuring him to move full-time. He can only afford a 1-bedroom apartment in our hometown right now. Our kids don't want to go with him because they have to sleep on an air mattress and pull-out bed, and it's uncomfortable. The best scenario is for our kids to have 2 homes that are comfortable and close by, and I am very aware of this, but still believe it should be in our home state. He wanted to meet for dinner the other night, and I agreed. He presented me with a whole new plan to move, including a brand new home for me, and offered me more alimony than I was awarded, basically the rent he currently pays for the apartment. Additionally, he offered an in-law suite/apartment for my mom to stay in or move in with us. What he presented was better than any scenario he presented when we were married. I could have a much more comfortable life if I agreed to these terms. They would be legally binding, but I still shut it down because this is the reason we got divorced. He's arguing that I'm ruining his life, and I think he did that all by himself. He thinks I'm being vindictive, and an outside opinion might be helpful. So, am I the jerk for refusing to move? Edit to add, someone thought I should include that my youngest has a learning disability and is thriving in his current placement, and I do not want to remove him from his school or his teacher. Not the jerk. And honestly, it speaks volumes about both of you and is fundamentally the reason why you're not the jerk, that you point out that this is the reason why we got divorced. This is the crux of the whole thing, and what your ex doesn't understand, that it isn't about the money. He thinks you're being vindictive and holding out for more, so he keeps offering more until it becomes almost grotesque how obvious it is that he thinks he just needs to buy you and your kids with the right amount to get what he wants. But he's missing the point completely. This isn't about money or about you being spiteful or vindictive or wanting anything from him. This is about the fact that you have a life where you are. He doesn't see you or the kids as whole humans, just as accessories to be dragged along to wherever he wants to be. But you are whole, autonomous humans. You have invested of yourselves where you live now. You don't just have a job, you have friends, a life, favorite places to spend time. And yes, you can theoretically make new friends, find new favorite places, but you don't want to. You never wanted to. He did. You like the friends you have where you are, the life you have now, and so do your kids. So why would all of you just give that up at any price just because he wants a different one? Why is his dream as a single person more important than all of your established lives? He needs to get his priorities straight. He's not the center of the universe. You all do not need to revolve around him like the sun, and you're not the jerk for understanding that.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.